Rachel Brown. Rachel Brown.
Did you know about this?
He didn't, but we should have. Rach? Rach, what did you tell him?
Take it easy, son.
Sit down, Sampson. You're about to get a haircut.
Rachel, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Now, my dear, I just want you to repeat some of the things you told me last night.
Please, Mr. Brady.
Well, Rachel, you said you wanted the people here to understand, didn't you, my dear?
Yes.
Now, just answer my question. Now, Miss Brown, you are an old friend of the defendant, Bertram Gates.
We're engaged to be married.
Do you and Miss Gates attend the same church?
Yes. We did.
Do you now?
What?
Attend the same church?
No.
Did Mr. Gates leave the church?
No. Not really. Not the spirit of it.
But the body of it, correct? Mr. Gates left the church. You and he once attended together.
Yes.
Why?
Because of the Stebbins boy.
The Stebbins boy. Would you tell us about that, please?
It was 2 summers ago. The little Stebbins boy was 13 years old. He was one of Bert's students. He lived right next door to the boarding house, and he used to come over and look through Bert's microscope. Bert said the boy had a bright mind, and he might even be a scientist when he grew up.
Yes?
He went to the river with the other boys and went swimming. He got a cramp and drowned.
Go on.
At the funeral, Paul Priest said Tommy didn't die in a state of grace because his father wouldn't allow him to be baptized.
Tell him what your father really said. That Tommy's soul was damned, rotting in hellfire. Can't you sinner? Religion's supposed to comfort people, not frighten them to death. We will have order, please. Now sit down, Bert.
Don't you see? Bert thought it wasn't fair that a little child couldn't go to heaven. It wasn't God he abandoned, only the church.
Very well, my dear, it is true that because of what happened to the Stebbins boy, Bert Gates left the church. We've said nothing wrong. We are merely beginning to gain some insight into the experiences that sometimes will lead a young man astray.
Objection. Whether my client went astray is a matter of interpretation. Strike it from the record.
Objection sustained. The jury is directed to disregard the remarks of counsel. Very well. Now, my dear, will you tell the jury some more of Mr. Gates' opinions on the subject of religion?
Objection! Hearsay evidence is not admissible.
Court sees no objection to this line of questioning. Proceed, Colonel Brady. Just repeat, in your own words, some of the conversations you had with the defendant.
Rachel, you can. The things I said to you were questions. Questions you ask your own heart. If you say those things out loud, you'll make them sound like answers.
I can't.
You won't hurt him, Rachel. This is for his good. Speak up.
Mr. Brady, I confided.
Well, we're here to serve the truth, Rachel. Only the truth.
I can't remember.
Rachel, you are testifying under oath. It is unlawful to withhold pertinent information. Describe to the court your innermost feelings. When Bert Gates said to you, God did not create man. Man created God.
Bert didn't say that. He was just bitter because of the little Stebbins boy. He said man created a vengeful God out of his own bigotry and the devil out of his own hell.
And when he was wondering about what was on the other side of the moon, did he ever mention the possibility of heaven? Did he ever mention that? Or did he say there was nothing but a world of stars and moons and galaxies and universal dust? Tell us some more. What did he say about the holy state of matrimony? Did he compare it to the breeding of animals? Objection! You want the good people of this town to see what happened to his brain so they can help him bring him back to his senses, don't you? Come on, tell it. Tell it all. Tell it. Tell it. Tell it.
Oh.
circumstances. I believe the witness should be excused.
Colonel Drummond, do you have any objection to excusing the witness from cross-examination at this time, subject to later recall?
Well, Your Honor, the defense must have a chance to challenge the words put into the mouth of the witness by the prosecutor.
Don't play and let it go.
May I have a moment, please?
Do you want every word you just put in their mouth to go into the record? Mr. Gordon. Doctor, they just pulled you apart like a plucked chicken. Please do as I say. You got to. I've got to what? Send you to jail? Let it go. You're all American idiots. You just have it in your head on a silver platter. You can't let it go. Stay out of this. It's none of your business. Don't tie my hands, son. Let her go or I'll change my plea to guilty.
No questions.
For the time being, the witness is excused.
May I have your autograph?
Does the prosecution wish to call any further witnesses?
Not at the present time, Your Honor. Prosecution rests.
We shall proceed with the case for the defense, Colonel Drummond.
I'd like to call Dr. Amos Keller, the head of the Department of Zoology at the University of Chicago. Objection? On what grounds? I wish to inquire what possible relevance the testimony of a zoology professor can have in his trial. Why, it has every relevance. My client is on trial for teaching evolution. Certainly any testimony relating to his so-called infringement of the law must be admitted. Irrelevant, immaterial, inadmissible. But why? If Bertram Cates were on trial for murder, would it be irrelevant to call in witnesses to examine the weapon? Would it rule out testimony that the so-called murder weapon was incapable of firing a bullet?
I fail to grasp the learned counsel's meaning.
Oh. Well, Your Honor, the defense wishes to place Dr. Keller on the stand so that he can explain to the gentlemen of the jury the exact meaning of the theory of evolution. How can they pass judgment if they don't know what it's all about? I hold that the very law we are here to enforce excludes such testimony. The people of this state have made it very clear that they do not want this zoological hogwash slobbering around the schoolrooms. And I refuse to allow these agnostic scientists to employ this courtroom as a sounding board, as a platform from which they can shout their heresies into the headlines.
Colonel Drummond, the bench rules that zoology is irrelevant to the case.
Agnostic scientists. I call Dr. Alan Page, deacon of the Congregational Church and professor of geology and archaeology at Oberlin College.
Objection sustained.
Does Your Honor deny in one breath the existence of zoology, geology, and archaeology?
We do not deny the existence of these sciences, but they do not relate to this point of law.
I call Walter Erickson, anthropologist, philosopher, author, and one of the most brilliant minds in the world today. Any objection, Mr. Brady? Objection, Your Honor. The defense has brought to Hillsborough at great expense and great inconvenience 6 noted scientists. Their testimony is basic to the defense of my client. For I intend to show this court that what Bertram Cates spoke quietly one spring morning at the Hillsborough High School is no crime. It is incontrovertible as geometry to any enlightened community of minds.
In this community, Colonel Drummond, and in this sovereign state, exactly the opposite is the case. The language of the law is clear, Your Honor. We do not need experts to question the validity of a law that is already on the books.
Well, what do you need? A gallows to hang him from?
That remark is an insult to this entire community.
And this community is an insult to the world. request permission to withdraw from this case. Mr. Drummond, you can't quit now. Why not? You were ready to 5 minutes ago.
Colonel Drummond, what reasons can you possibly have?
Well, there are 200 of them. And if that's not enough, there's one more. I think my client has already been found guilty. Is Mr. Drummond saying that this expression of an honest devotion will in any way influence the court's impartial administration of the law? I say that you cannot administer a wicked law impartially. You can only destroy. You can only punish. And I warn you that a wicked law like cholera destroys everyone it touches. Its upholders as well as its defiers.
Colonel Drummond.
Can't you understand that if you take a law like evolution and you make it a crime to teach it in the public schools, tomorrow you can make it a crime to teach it in the private schools, and tomorrow you may make it a crime to read about it, and soon you may ban books and newspapers, and then you may turn Catholic against Protestant, and Protestant against Protestant, and try to foist your own religion upon the mind of man. If you can do one, you can do the other, because fanaticism and ignorance is forever busy and needs feeding. And soon, Your Honor, with banners flying and with drums beating, we'll be marching backward, through the glorious ages of that 16th century, when bigots burned the man who dared bring enlightenment and intelligence to the human mind.
I hope counsel does not mean to imply that this court is bigoted.
Well, Your Honor has the right to hope.
I have the right to do more than that.
You have the power to do more than that.
And I exercise that power. Colonel Drummond, I order you to show cause tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock why you should not be held in contempt of this court. And in the meanwhile, I order that you be held in custody of the bailiff. Bail is fixed at $2,000.
2,000? Why don't you make it 4,000?
It's 4, Colonel Drummond.
Your Honor, my paper will post the bond.
Can you prove legal authorization to make such a commitment to your employer?
Well, I'll wire my paper immediately.
Fine. Until then, Colonel Drummond can avail himself of our municipal accommodations.
Your Honor, sir. I'll put up my farm for Mr. Drummond.
We have no way of ascertaining the value of your farm, sir.
It ought to be worth that much.
The law demands that bond be posted in cash.
Your Honor, my bank will honor the offer on the security of this farm. He has considerably more equity in it than that.
Very well. You can make arrangements with the court clerk.
Who are you? My name is John Stebbins.
Court will adjourn and reconvene at 10 a.m. tomorrow.